From 9.
Basically, this generation is more liberal, more tolerant, more Democrat-leaning than the one before. It's not just because they're young.
For another point of view, it's Hard News with Russell Brown and Wammo on Kiwi.
Yeah, the Hard News blog at publicaddress.net. Media 7 show on TVNZ7. Russell Brown's with us this morning. Morning, Russell.
Good morning.
First up, let's look at the fact that the TVNZ Sunday program is now under police investigation after their story covering the so-called looter in Christchurch, Arie Smith.
Yeah, I do not know what Inspector Derek Erasmus of the Christchurch Police is thinking, frankly. If listeners didn't watch the Sunday report on the case of Arie Smithville Camp, who first came to our attention as the supposed face of looting in Christchurch in February, if you have a moment, go and watch it on the TVNZ site, because I think it's a superb report.
We're left without a doubt that it was due to unfortunate set of circumstances that he ended up in that building. And he shouldn't have probably been arrested at the end of the day, right?
No, well, I mean, I think actually probably the one thing worth pointing out about the Sunday program itself is that it makes it quite clear that he shouldn't have done what he did. But by no reasonable stretch of the imagination was this looting. He went into a building that had been empty for months before the September earthquake, had been damaged months before and marked for demolition in the September earthquake, and then this is in February. He rescued a couple of light bulbs.
And we're also told that the owners of the building didn't want to see him charged, or in the first instance they didn't even know that this was even happening.
This is one of the more bizarre parts. The first they knew of this case was when the Sunday producers contacted them and said, "Do you know about this?" And they didn't, and they don't want to see him sent to jail. Or anything else. The poor kid, who is, we should make clear, is Asperger's syndrome. He's mildly autistic and has, as many Asperger people do, a particular interest. His particular interest is in electrical fittings.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this lovely old couple had no idea what was going on. The police had not bothered to contact them. Eventually, their first contact from the police was shortly before the Sunday program went to air, when Inspector Erasmus rang them and put pressure on them to try and get TVNZ to drop the program, which is absolutely astonishing.
Under what grounds?
Oh, who knows? And then when that was unsuccessful, Erasmus threatened TVNZ, warning them that they too were under criminal investigation. Now, apparently that's the case. They still can't explain exactly what basis there is.
Yeah.
I mean, if this was a jury trial, there would be an issue because it would be sub judice and you wouldn't want to be being seen to influence a jury. This is a judge-only trial that Arie Smith is coming up to.
And the judge has already recommended diversion.
3 times.
And
3 times the judge has sent back this case to the police to ask them to have a bleed and think about it. And all the police can say is that there needs to be an informed admission of guilt.
Yeah.
There's been that right from the very beginning. This is utterly absurd. Basically, if you've watched the program, which apparently Inspector Erasmus has, there is no doubt that the facts of the case are acknowledged.
Yeah.
The problem with the police is that it's pretty clear that Arie was assaulted on arrest and was actually treated very poorly.
Which the police deny.
Yeah, which the police deny, but I have no doubt about it, frankly. But he didn't want to press charges. I mean, this actually could have been dealt with in a fairly civilised way very early on. He initially pleaded guilty. But then it became clear that the police, despite having had him in custody for 8 days until someone could get him out, wanted to go hard on this kid. It's just absurd.
It kind of stinks, of course, to a much lesser extent in the Christchurch context, but of the sort of extreme sort of weirdness that went on in New Orleans, within the week of Hurricane Katrina, where police are really stressed out. And they're dealing with so many things at once, and these kind of strange things seem to happen.
Yeah, I think there may be an issue there, and I have to say, I've been trying to think about why the police might have been taking this sort of stand, especially when 3 times it's been sent back by a judge saying, "Are you sure?" I wonder whether there's a wider issue of rough justice that they're trying to keep out of the news. But if that's the case, then they're going precisely the wrong way about it.
Yeah.
Threatening a major current affairs show and then launching a criminal investigation on some basis that's not clear to anyone.
Because it's also quite clear that they don't have the public on their side with this anymore.
No, they
either.
don't. I mean, I know lots of people in Christchurch, and I think the people I know in Christchurch are basically saying, well, isn't there more to worry about?
Yeah, indeed.
Than this kid, and I have to say, as I said when I wrote about it this week, as the parent of 2 young men with Asperger's, I was actually really thrilled to see this young guy actually speak on TV, because we never hear from these people. We never hear them speak, for themselves in their own account. And I was really thrilled by that.
And what a nice young man he seems to be
what
as well.
What a nice young man he is. And I have to say what a great job Janet McIntyre did, because it wasn't just a work of advocacy. I think, it was acknowledged, very clearly acknowledged that he'd done, the wrong thing. But it wasn't that wrong, frankly. This was not looting.
And it's certainly not the kind of journalism, just a segue here, that you'd find in News of the World.
Oh, my God.
Rupert Murdoch is now facing B-Sky-B defeat, is what The Guardian's reporting, that the political parties are uniting in a call to drop the bid. He was going to be doing a wee bit of a takeover there. This thing is just spiralling, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, for those of us who are interested in these sorts of stories, it's been hard to know where to look.
Yeah.
I mean, I cannot recall a political story that has, over days, moved so fast that at least 2 newspapers have been running live blogs about it. This is the News of the World phone hacking story, about which it would be fair to say the British public didn't care too much, so long as it was only politicians and celebrities who were having their privacy breached.
Yeah.
When it got to 13-year-old murder victims, the families of the 7/7 terror attack victims, and now 9/11 victims and soldiers.
Yeah.
It's astonishing, and it appears it's really quite clear now that not just the News of the World, but the entire Murdoch newspaper operation in Britain kind of had everyone operating in a climate of fear. Politicians are now finally standing up and saying, "Yeah, we were intimidated by them," and there's now talk of Murdoch selling up all his British newspapers, and the question is, who's going to buy them?
Yeah.
And that's worrying in itself, because the only people with the money are Russian oligarchs.
Yeah.
That's not good either.
Yeah. But this also has ramifications, obviously, not only for politicians, but the police there as well. Apparently police were paid to track Star's phones in a process called pinging, which pinpoints location using phone masts, is said to have been carried out on behalf of the paper.
Yeah, and they were taking money. And the funny thing is that a lot of this is turning on things that actually came out several years ago. Rebecca Brooks, the editor of the News of the World, actually admitted in the parliamentary inquiry that they'd paid the police for information. And that kind of just drifted by at the time. Now it appears that it may trigger an investigation at Murdoch's expense into his company worldwide, based an investigation by U.S. authorities.
Yeah.
That could cost him $100 million.
I mean, Murdoch reaches into every single country. Do you think here in New Zealand we'll be investigating Murdoch media here for some of their practices?
I'm not sure whether we'll be investigating them, but it's probably a good little reminder to think about the level of lobbying that Murdoch media businesses typically do wherever they're present. And, of course, the big business here is Sky, and Sky are very active lobbyists, and they've actually done very well with this government.
They have.
They've done incredibly well. There's been a series of decisions that have suited Sky and not its competitors. And I'm not saying there's any corruption, but they are a very effective lobbying machine. And Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. This could bring down the whole worldwide News Corporation operation.
It could. It could be this is the very start of the crumbling of the empire.
Yeah, exactly. And who would have predicted that it would have happened this way?
Yeah.
And you have to say, Nick Davis at The Guardian, take a bow.
Yeah.
He pursued this story when everyone else thought it wasn't worth it. When even Julian Assange has repeatedly and actually quite recently said, look, no, this isn't a big story. I think he's gotten it a wee bit wrong. And the interesting thing about this story is that it's not just a single source leak. This is the real work of journalism that Nick Davis has done.
You know what would be exciting in a year's time is if we can ask the question, what is going to fill the void? What is going to fill the space?
Yeah,
that would be exciting.
And the problem is, there are nice ways of running newspaper businesses. The way The Guardian's run by an independent trust that focuses on the higher goals of journalism. Unfortunately, The Guardian's losing tens of millions of pounds a year.
Yeah.
Who is going to fill the gap? And will Britain ever be rid of newspaper proprietors who basically run the things in order to serve their own interests?
All good questions.
Indeed.
Thanks very much, Russell.
Righto.
Cheers. Russell Brown at publicaddress.net, Media 7 Show, TVNZ.